Erasmus, a Dutch humanist scholar, published the first printed Greek New Testament on March 1st, 1516. And when it came out, he did not have this verse, 1 John 5:7, in there with the wording of affirming the Trinity. There were Catholic scholars who got very upset at him for not putting that in there. And in his second edition of 1519, he didn't have it. What he mentioned in his notes in that second edition is, I didn't put it in because I did not see it in any Greek manuscripts. And by 1520, there was a scribe at Oxford named Roy who created a manuscript that had the entire New Testament in it, and somehow it ended up at the doorstep of Erasmus in Basel. And so Erasmus didn't promise that he would put that verse in if he found it in a manuscript. He did the negative, saying, I didn't put it in because I didn't see any Greek manuscripts that had it. So he finds this manuscript that has it, that was made to order, actually. And so his third edition of 1522 now has 1 John 5:7 with that Trinitarian formula. That is something that has plagued English readers of the Bible, but not German readers, because Martin Luther based his New Testament on the 1519 edition that didn't have that. So in 1519, Luther was using that edition, and it didn't have the Trinitarian formula. German Christianity has never had a problem that the Bible never had that Trinitarian formula in it. But it made it into Erasmus's 1522 text, and then in the King James Bible after that. And Erasmus basically puts it in under protest. To date, we have discovered 8 manuscripts that have that wording there, in 4 manuscripts written from the 16th or later century, and in 4 margins of manuscripts, the earliest of which I think is 10th or 12th century, but the marginal notes themselves are probably 16th or later. And so it seems that this particular reading was never part of the Greek New Testament until after there was a protest of Erasmus. It was found in one of the editions of the Latin Vulgate, and Erasmus or somebody else came along that and said, well, it must be that. And what's really fascinating is the guy who puts this into the text, the scribe named Roy, didn't know Greek very well, so he simply translated Latin into Greek without knowing how Greek syntax worked. And so he made mistakes that Erasmus corrected when he put it into his text, and therefore Erasmus corrected the Greek and still put in something in his Greek text that he could not find in the manuscript, because he knew it was a fabrication, you know? So he didn't quite follow his own word on that. But here's the point. We've known this for 500 years. This is bogus.